Hello everybody, thank you for joining me. My name is Marcel and today's video is going to be a Canadian whiskey thing. I'm going to introduce you to a micro-distillery that you may not have heard of, and then I'm going to review one of their whiskeys. So, as usual, grab a glass, pull up a chair, let's talk about a whiskey thing. Today's whiskey is brought to us by Dioni. Dioni Whiskey is located in Red Deer, Alberta, and they began operations in late 2018, laying their first cask down in 2019, and after laying the first cask to rest, they patiently waited. And waited until 2023, and then they introduced their whiskey to the public, introduced it to the world, and right from the get-go, they were doing amazing things. They started by winning awards, and to me, when a distillery starts off winning awards, you know that they're going to be doing great things. You know that they are doing great things. You know it's going to be great whiskey. It was awards of bronze, silver, and gold medals, also all of the medals, in the SIP Awards, International Whiskey Awards, Canadian Whiskey Awards, World Whiskey Awards, and I believe aside from the medals, they also got Best New Distillery and Best in Show at I believe that was the Canadian Whiskey Awards. But don't quote me on that. Or yeah, could have been the Canadian Whiskey Awards. But anyway, right off the hop, doing amazing things. And in my opinion, Dioni is doing great things in the name of Canadian whiskey and proving what Canadian whiskey can be, not just good for rye and Coke, and just nice, casual, smooth blends that you don't really, there's no complexity, there's nothing there. It's good for just sitting back at a barbecue having a rye and Coke or something, whatever, or whatever your mix of choice is, whatever your cocktail of choice is. That's typically what people think of when they think Canadian whiskey. They just think of a standard rye. But Dioni is showing that Canadian whiskey can be so much more. They are focused on quality over quantity. So all of their whiskey is small batch, distilled in a custom built hybrid still, bottled at least 46% ABV or 102 proof, and non-chill filtered and no color added. They're very focused on cask finishing. So port casks, rum casks, sherry casks, smoked casks. So their campfire whiskey is aged in new American oak and finished in smoked barrels. I can't tell you what they smoke them with, 'cause I don't know. All of their whiskey is made with 100% locally sourced Canadian grains. They source them from Red Shed Maltings in Penhold, Alberta. Their casks they get from a cooperage in Onaway. So all locally sourced. I believe Red Shed Maltings is roughly 14 kilometers from the distillery, so pretty close. They keep things nice and close to them. The mash bill on all of their whiskeys, I believe, all of their whiskeys have the same mash bill: 65% roasted rye, 30% malted barley, and then 5% oats. The oats is a very interesting thing to throw in there. Now, it's the first time that I had ever heard of a whiskey having oats in it, and the oats purely for mouthfeel. Doesn't really affect flavor as much. Well, sort of. I find that it gives it sort of an oat pastry, like an oatmeal cookie kind of a flavor, but it definitely gives a more oily mouthfeel, a thicker mouthfeel, like you had just taken a bite of a glazed butter pastry, sort of a thing. One absolutely wonderful idea, which Dioni has many of. Now let's get into the whiskey itself. But before we get into the whiskey, I'm going to choose. Let's go with a Copita today. I haven't used it. It's been a little while since I've used a Copita, so. Oh, I can already smell the toasted caramel and vanillas. Okay. Then we'll get our water ready. Oh, the whiskey in this bottle in question, right here, is the Northern Overproof blend. It is a blend of whiskeys from three different barrels, 3 different casks. The one whiskey is a New American Oak. That's where you're going to get your vanillas, your caramels, and your coconuts from typically. And then that whiskey is finished, goes from the New American Oak into export cask. The export cask is going to give you sort of a honey sweet fruits, maybe some berries, dark dried fruits like raisins, dates, figs, dried plums, and it's also going to give you a bit more baking spice, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg. The next whiskey, the second, is New American Oak, finished in heavily smoked. Heavily smoked, the smoke barrel that I was talking about, that gives a campfire smoke. It's not like a peat smoke, not like a peated whiskey. It's not that kind of a smoke. It doesn't have. It's not going to have any of those iodine Band-Aid campfire next to a World War I medical tent sort of a feel, sort of an essence to it. Not going to have that. It's definitely nice, fresh campfire burning, a good quality wood, not some dried brush or something like that. And then the third and final whiskey, aged in recharred French oak. Now, as I talked about in a previous video, the French oak has looser grains than American oak. The looser grain allows for a much faster, more intense and stronger interaction and influence from the oak. French oak, instead of your vanillas and caramels and coconuts that you get from American oak, the French oak imparts more of your dark dried fruits, like your raisins, figs, dates, dried plums. Tobacco, maybe a little bit of chocolate, maybe a little chocolatey note, and a spicier finish. So all of those combined, that all sounds like an absolutely wonderful whiskey. It's a wonderful blend, coming in at, oh, bless me, coming in at 51% ABV. It's going to have a little bit more punch to it. Things that are higher ABV and especially cask strength things, which we will get to cask strength probably in the next video. But that's going to be, you're not going to want to bury your nose into that. You're not going to want to bury your nose into something like that. You're going to want to come at it from a distance. Like I can already smell it from here. It smells like caramel leather. And then as you train your nose, and as you get used to, you build up a tolerance to the ethanol burn, so you can stick your nose a bit farther into the glass. But especially if you're not used to that burn, then don't do it. Don't do it. You're not going to want to do it. Definitely a rye spice, cinnamon, like a cinnamon rye bread. Hint of apple, coconut, toasted caramel. Well, no, I would say that's more of a toffee than a caramel. I'm getting that honey, the honey sweet off the port, cask finish. Getting that's coming through. And another part about nosing whiskey, you don't just shove your nose in there and you don't just leave it in one spot and sniff until you basically can't feel anything in your nose anymore. Don't do that. If you need to reset your nose, if you need to do that, smelling like your own skin, something neutral, a piece of a clean cloth, just something that's neutral, something that's going to neutralize your nose. Don't do like coffee grounds. That's a myth. That actually can overpower your nose and actually have an influence, because the smell will stick into your nose, and then you might start getting coffee notes on your whiskey that aren't actually there, because the smell of the coffee is just stuck in your nose. All the different parts of the glass, like when you have it tipped back, the top of the glass is different from the bottom of the glass, because the bottom of the glass is also going to be stronger, because the alcohol is closer to your nose at the bottom of the glass. So go to the top of the glass, and then from side to side, work your way down to the bottom. Down to the bottom, that's where all of your heavier smells are going to be. That's where any kind of smoke, a lot more spice, and actually your dark dried fruits are going to be there, kind of closer down in the bottom. Yep, that burned. Little bit of raisin. Overall, very complex whiskey. They also long fermentation. The only does a long fermentation, which helps to build complexity in the flavor, build complexity in the aromas. So that when you have a blend of 3 different whiskeys finished in 3 different ways, all with a distillation process that is meant to maximize flavor, maximize complexity, you're going to have a wonderful, wonderful whiskey, and you're going to have great experience. Rye spice, very spicy. Almost a shortbread. Has a vanilla, oaky, smoky shortbread. Getting raisin. For some reason, I'm getting a similar finish on the rum as the Killoan rum and raisin single malt Irish whiskey. So that's strange. What are you doing? What are you doing over there, Stefan? That is just wonderful. Anyway, I don't know if the color. Oh, wonderful color. Nice deep. A dark golden honey. Kind of relatively, fairly, I'd say a medium long finish. Finish is honey, honeyed apple, kind of like honeyed apples. That's what it's finishing as. I have quite enjoyed every single one of Dionis whiskeys that I've tried. I did get the opportunity to go visit the distillery. I got to visit the distillery and meet Stefan. He's a very knowledgeable person, and he loves talking about his whiskey and talking about whiskey in general. Had very good conversations with him. tried some good whiskey. They do not disappoint with anything. I would highly recommend, if you're looking to explore Canadian whiskeys and you're looking to support smaller distilleries. They're really innovative, and they're pushing the boundaries of what Canadian whiskey is, what Canadian whiskey can be, and I think we need to support more craft distilleries, more small distilleries. Support the small guys who are doing absolutely wonderful things. Oh, with the... What is that? What is... Oh. When you go back to when you put water in it and you let the water open up the whiskey, you get a rye spiced caramel shortbread cookies. With a side of cinnamon applesauce. That is cool. That is unique. See, this is what I'm talking about. And we're going to melt the watered whiskey. Rye spice, vanilla, oak, smoky oak. Where is that? What is that, my cheek? Pears. Ripe pears. Stewed apples. That is a very unique and wonderful whiskey. I am quite happy with this. So please support. I will put. I don't know why I'm looking around here. I'm not going to be able to do it anywhere on here. Down in the description, I will figure out how to put Yoni's website. Please go support them. Go check out their entire story. Basically, you can read everything that I said, plus more, is on their website. This whiskey is au naturel. Thank you for joining me. As always, please drink responsibly, and I'll see you next time.